Hello my friends, and welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be making a background, and y'all know how much I love a good background. So let's talk about the products we're using. This is the Starstruck stencil by Trinity Stamps, and then we're also going to be using the Marshmallow alphabet by Trinity Stamps. And then I also have an array of Distress Oxide inks, and we are going to bring in some Distress watercolor paper. So I saw Tim Holtz do this. I was watching some Distress stain stuff, and he used some Distress Oxides. I actually don't have any Distress stains. I have some coming, but I don't have any. So I've got Distress Oxides. I'm going to just kind of shift these around a little bit, get all that sludge off of the bottom. And this is Picked Raspberry, that first color that I've chosen. And I'm going to spray that, not too crazy heavy, up in that upper corner. And then I've got Fossilized Amber down at the bottom. So you definitely just want to shake these around. For this technique that we're using, you're going to want to move fairly quickly. So I'm just going to move my stencil away and then kind of wipe up the background just a little bit so I can bring over my clear embossing powder. And then I'm just going to cover that with embossing powder. Now you want to move quickly because keep in mind this isn't something that usually stays wet for crazy long. And then you don't want it to sit there for too long after that. You do want to heat set that when the time comes. But we're going to do some embossing on that Distress Oxide spray. And I had such a mess. Oh my goodness. This is where investing in a splat box would actually be a good idea because I had overspray everywhere. But I don't want to waste any of that that's on the stencil, so I'm just going to stick this down onto a piece of 5.5 by 5.5 inch cardstock, and look at that, we already have the beginnings of another background. So I'll set that off to the side, clean up my mess, and then I'm going to go ahead and emboss this. So I'm going to heat set these until that's smooth and melted, and it'll be kind of, it's definitely going to be shiny. You'll be able to tell because it'll go from a matte finish to a shiny finish. But it's going to be a little bit sporadic because you got to keep in mind that when you're spraying, you're going to get these little bits of spray. And so it's going to stick to some of those bits. It's not going to be a complete, solid image that you're embossing. And that will show up when we move on to the next step, which is so cool. All right, I'm going to try to keep the overspray down to a minimum. And I have some more Distress Oxide sprays. We've got 3 colors. That first one is Chipped Sapphire. Then I've got some Prize Ribbon. That's the new color. And then I'm also going to bring in some Speckled Egg. And I'm just being kind of liberal with this, just spraying all over. And probably should have sprayed with water first. I'm not really good at remembering to do that, but that's okay. So these are Oxide sprays. They will react to water. Well, most Distress products will react to water, but check it out. So we're just going to heat set this, try to get that to dry on that background. It looks kind of dull. Distress Oxides themselves are meant to be more of a matte, muted look to them. So the color that you spray definitely dries back a little bit. It gets that oxidized look. But I'm going to just keep bumping this into that color that's left on my glass mat, putting a little bit of water in there, seeing if I can pick some of that up. And there is so much spray on there, even though I didn't spray a lot, that I'm going to go ahead and bring in another piece of watercolor cardstock and just get some of that lifted, because there really is a lot on there. And that's what I love about these sprays. A little does really go a long way. So we'll just get this whole piece of cardstock completely covered. And then I have another background started. Probably could have made a couple more. But we're going to go back to drying this. So I'm just drying this background, and then I'm going to bring in my microfiber cloth and wipe away any of the color that might be on those stars. It sort of rubs in the little bits in between, which is really cool, and I'll show you that up close. But it's an interesting type of background. So now I'm spraying a little bit of water on there. It's cool how the clear embossing powder traps the color underneath. So you have this Emboss Resist. And if you're new to Emboss Resist, basically anything that you emboss, if you put a water-based product over the top of it, you're going to be able to wipe that away, which is awesome. So it resists it, basically why it's called Emboss Resist. I'm splattering some silver on there. That was the Trinity Gold palette. Then I'm going to bring in some Picket Fence Distress paint, and we'll splatter that all over the background, keeping in mind that that white is definitely going to dry back because these are Distress Oxides, and whatever color's underneath it is definitely going to pick up. All right, so let's look at that a little bit closer. Lots of splattery goodness, and oh my gosh, I'm already in love with that background. I am definitely going to have to do this again and again. It's messy, but it's fun, and I like it. So I'll bring in my blender buddies along with some Distress Oxide Black Soot. the stamp pad and just blend that around the edges. And of course Max decides to come in. I'm glad he didn't come in when I was spraying. I would have had a very messy kitty. But so he's wanting to check it out. I'll clean up my mess and then of course give him some snuggles for a little bit. But this is where I'm going to bring in that Marshmallow alphabet die. I went ahead and die cut out the word wow using those letters, and I went ahead and attached those back into my white piece of cardstock just using some mint tape, which is basically like a post-it tape. And so those are back in their piece like they're supposed to be, because I want to do some more embossing on this. Well, Max wants to take it from me first, but I'm going to emboss that. I want it to be nice and shiny, really stand out, and that white will definitely pop. So I'm going to bring in that clear embossing powder again, along with an embossing ink. And I'll just take that embossing ink and put that right onto my paper. So putting that right on there, now I'll cover that with my clear embossing powder. And then we can heat set that till that is smooth and melted. It's just an easy way to get some shine on those. There's definitely other ways to do it, but I like this. And I could have die cut out the letters several more times to make these look a little bit more like chipboard, but I'm going to bring in some foam strips. And I think this works just fine. I definitely had plenty of these, so I'm going to put that behind all of those letters. And then when we're happy with that, we'll bring in our T-ruler and then try to measure that out, or not necessarily measure it out, but make sure that it's centered a little bit. So I'm going to start with the O because I'm spelling out wow. You could do mom, but I'm going to do wow. I figure this card would work for a lot of different things, a lot of different occasions. So we'll put down our O first, and then we'll work with our W's all around that, peeling off that release paper. These letters are great for the foam strips because those foam strips are definitely plenty small enough. And I got these ones from Scrapbook Adhesive. So then I'll put down the next W, and then I have an exclamation point. So I'll put down the top of the exclamation point and then cut a very tiny piece of that foam strip and stick it right below. And then I can grab out the bottom part of our exclamation point and then just stick that down with my Trinity pickup stick. Peel off that release paper. I love how fun this was. You could do this with so many different words too. And then I can't stop there. I have to bring in some embellishments. So I have the Trinity Stamps Rainbow Reflections. I'm just going to put a few of those down, adding a little more sparkle. And when that's done, we're going to attach this down to our card base using some more of that liquid glue. It will be a top folding A2 size card when all is said and done. But that's going to finish it off. I love this background. I'm definitely going to have to do more of these. It's really fun, and I imagine the color combos you could try would be just great. All right, so if you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thanks for all the love and support you guys give by liking, subscribing, using my affiliate links, everything. You guys are pretty awesome, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.